All right. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you guys are dialing in from. Thank you for joining us for this morning's Webinar Wednesday from Talent View. And I'll jump right into it. Our topic's really exciting. It's Workplace for HR, building a culture of collaboration with workplace. So I'm just going to start and introduce myself quickly, introduce Talent View quickly, and then we're going to jump into the heart of everything we're discussing today. So I want to welcome all the HR professionals, HR leaders that are joining us today, whatever industry you're from. I'm sure that today poses a challenging time where we are today. The way that we manage our workforce, the way that we lead our teams is going to be very different. And they're now calling this the now normal. It's no longer the new normal, it's the now normal. So let's see how organizations all over the world are navigating this crisis and making sure that they retain productivity, they retain engagement, and they retain their best people. All right. So as we're going through, I'd like to just remind you of what you see in your tab, you see in the Zoom view. I've noted an arrow here for Q&A. So if you've got any questions, we're sharing the slides with you. If you've got any questions, just feel free to click on that Q&A button, and we'll be happy to answer your questions during this webinar. All right. And just to introduce myself very quickly, my name is Ange Vera. I'm the CEO of Talent View. And currently, Talent View has operations and offices across 3 countries. And we have about 200 organizations that we work with in the region. I've been in HR for about 15 years now across many different facets, from compensation benefits, OD, recruitment, engagement, and it's just really interesting to see how the world is evolving and how HR is becoming more and more critical in the workforce today. And when you look at how everything is right now, you can see that a lot of it is hinged on the perception of who we are as an employer, who we are as a company. And that's where Talent View specialization lies. So we specialize in employer branding. 3 core areas for us. First is strategy. So there are companies that come to us and say, how do I build a strategy for my employer brand so that people apply to my organization, so that people stay and are engaged? So that's the first. Second is design. So how do I prettify, beautify my look on social media when I'm trying to communicate who I am as an employer? So we've got a team of graphic designers, photo editors, video editors that just support HR to make sure that you're communicating your brand really aligned with how your organization is, outside into the talent market. And the third piece, which we're going to focus on a lot today, is technology. So definitely technology plays a big role, more so in this environment today. And these are some of our technology partners. We will be focusing on one in particular, which is Workplace. And I am really happy to share this partnership with all of you. And later on, we'll hear from another team member in Talent View how this is happening and how this is shaping up with everything we're doing today. All right. So as I said, we work across roughly 200 organizations across the region. You may find that some of these logos are familiar. So whatever industry and whatever, I would say, company size, usually these would be some of our these would be the profile of our customers. And you might see your logo there, might see your competitor's logo there. And it's just nice to be able to get that perspective, because a lot of the work that we do really lends itself to different kinds of industries and organizations. All right, so now I want to get audience participation and try to bring you into this conversation through a quick poll. We'll be flashing that, and I want to ask this question to you guys. What are the communication channels that you typically use? So we'll be flashing that poll. What platforms are you using to collaborate with your employees right now, given that most are working remotely, maybe some are in the office, some are in your home, right? So is it messenger apps? Is it video conferencing tools? Is it email alone? Click all that apply. All right. So I'll give you some time to just pick your options and participate in this poll. All right, let's see the results. Get a quick pulse from everyone this morning. All right, so it seems that video conferencing is up. This is a given. We know this. Even we're doing this webinar via Zoom, right? So 83% of you are saying that yes, video conferencing tools are number one. Email is second. The third is messenger apps. And there's 1/4 of us that are sort of using other tools in conjunction with the rest. All right, cool. So thank you for sharing that. Now you know that you're not alone. Now you know that pretty much organizations are using the same platforms as you are. All right, and now what I want to talk about and what I want to focus on is a framework that we built at the start of this crisis to help organizations really bridge that gap. When I say there's a gap, I guess it will fall under one or more of these areas that I'm going to talk about today through the extended workplace design. But before I start this, I just want to paint a picture to everyone watching and listening to us, right? So you're saying that you're using Messenger, you're using Viber, you're using WhatsApp. Sometimes because these are personal networks, sometimes because these are, I would say, consumer products, consumer platforms. It gets muddled up with your contacts from friends, families, messages from other people that are not work related. And I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's definitely happened to us when we were using these apps where, chances are you can't remember where you posted it. Did I send that file via email? Did I send that file via Viber or Messenger? And you have to take time to look at it. And sometimes it also has happened where, you're on a consumer platform, let's say Messenger, and all of a sudden you realize that there are 10 people in that group that are no longer part of your company, but you've still been sending messages to them and you've still been communicating confidential information to them. So these are just some of the problems. There's also that situation you run into where we usually do a cascade. Leaders would pass it on to pass the message to the managers. Managers would pass the message to supervisors. Supervisors would pass the message to their teams. And sometimes as that information travels, it either changes, evolves, or maybe even, is not complete anymore or is not sent on time. So what typically happens is that you've got people that are not as informed as the rest. And it's a challenge that we see happening in a lot of organizations. So when we talk of the extended workplace design, there are 6 areas that I wanted to focus on and for you to assess yourself where you are in these areas. And the very first one is enhanced leadership communication. During this time, this day and age, super critical for your leaders to be at the forefront of communication. They have to be the ones that are motivating the teams. They are the ones that have to send out information. What's going to happen when we return to work? What's going to happen in case, the company is struggling? Give us a heads up. What do we need to know? Leaders can't be the last to share information. In fact, even as simple as, say, COVID-19 updates. Sometimes when leaders aren't sharing information, what happens is employees are the ones that share. And that's where fake news comes in. They just share whatever they find in whatever sources. And people all of a sudden believe it as gospel truth. But we don't know if it's accurate or not. So as leaders, and I know that I'm speaking to a lot of HR professionals and leaders in this webinar, we need to be the ones that are a source of accurate information. We need to be leading at the forefront and not waiting for our employees to get that information somewhere. We need to be the ones that are sharing the right information at the right time. So that's really critical. The second is resilient implementation. And this is something that we've often heard also over the last 2 or 3 months, where obviously people are working remotely, people are working from home, and they have to make do with the devices that they have, which is their mobile phone, which is their personal laptops. So we can't insist that, all our data rests on servers. And if you're not connected to our server, then you cannot work because you don't have access to information. So resilient implementation during this time means that we are able to allow information to flow through the devices that our own team members are using so that people can still remain productive and get work done, right? The third is culture and collaboration mindset. And this one is specifically for you. When I say culture and collaboration mindset, we're not just after getting work done. We still want to maintain everything that employees used to have when they were in the office. So whether that's celebrating a birthday, celebrating a milestone, like meeting a target, you definitely want your team members to still have the culture and collaboration experience. So how are you building that? We're seeing companies run their own TikTok challenge, their human bingo, or maybe they're celebrating birthdays virtually by bringing everyone into a Zoom call. How are you doing that? How are you building culture? How are you making sure that people still love to work in your company? Is a challenge for all HR leaders today. And I would say out of these six is the most important because you definitely don't want people that are just doing their work in silos or just, really focused on their own individual contributions. You want to build that culture, you want to build that environment, right? And the fourth is reliable and secure connectivity. In all that you're doing, you cannot sacrifice or you cannot risk security of data. You cannot have a data breach. You have to make sure that everything you're doing is secure. And of course, when I say reliable, internet is always a challenge for us, right? You look at the bandwidth that is required for other platforms, it may be very difficult for people to connect, for people to join in, for people to engage in projects. So you definitely want to provide platforms, applications that are easy to use, easy for them to access through their mobile phone, easy for them to use through their personal laptop. And it will not need to go through 5 different steps, 10 different steps for them to be able to engage with the organization. The fifth is optimized integration. My example here is as simple as recruitment or talent acquisition, where before applicants would walk in, they would fill out forms, they would take a test, they would go through different steps in your recruitment process. Have you stopped and asked yourself which of these processes are redundant? Are they filling out forms, but at the same time, they're filling out something electronically or through your website? You have to be able to piece the puzzle together, integrate the pieces so that nothing is redundant and it's still a seamless and easy experience for your applicants or your employees to do. And we've had a lot of these conversations with companies where they're trying to shift their entire recruitment into a virtual recruitment process, into a virtual job fair, into a virtual application. And that's something that we want to continue to do as you're integrating all the technologies that you're using, whether it's external or internal to your company. And of course, the last piece, which also is very critical, is data-driven change. When you're buying an app, when you're subscribing to a new platform, are you doing it because everyone else is doing it? Like Zoom, right? We've seen companies get on Zoom, not recognizing that they already have other platforms that the company has purchased that are already working. And sometimes when we ask them, why do you get on Zoom? It's because, everybody's been using Zoom. So don't fall into that trap. I'm not saying that it's a bad platform. It's actually great. But you've got to be more mindful about why we're doing everything that we're doing today. Why are we getting on certain platforms? What are the metrics that we want to target? And if you do find that there are certain metrics that positively impact, maybe you can do more of that. And if you're finding some metrics that are also negatively impacted, maybe you can do less of that. So a lot of the decisions we make, we become valuable to the company and more valuable even if we're using data to drive the change. And so these are the 6 areas I wanted to share with you a statistic. Companies and organizations that communicate effectively are 4.5 times more likely to retain the best employees. And I think in our hearts, we know this already. This is a given. The more we communicate and the better we communicate with our teams, the more likely they're going to be productive and the more likely they're going to be engaged. And the second thing I wanted to show you from HRD Asia is also that 70% of organizations report that the main cost cutting measure they plan to use is more effective use of technology. So a lot of important keywords here. Cost cutting measure, yes. Let's face it, now we are in stricter budget environments. We are finding ways to be efficient in everything we're doing while cutting down costs. And technology can be a very good way for us to do that. But take a look at the second part, more effective use of technology. So it's not just getting all the technologies out there, but really deciding what technologies create the impact that I want to drive in my organization. And these are some of the stats that should guide us as we move along and think of this as the now normal. All right, so these are the 6. Let me just do a quick recap before we move on to our poll and our next speaker. So 6 things that we need. Enhance leadership communications. Leaders must lead from the forefront because hope is not a strategy. I want to repeat that. Hope is not a strategy. We can't just hope that things will get better. We can't just hope that things will go back to normal. We have to be deliberate in our planning and our communication. Second is resilient implementation. It must work on all the devices that our employees are using to stay productive. Third is culture and collaboration mindset. We want to retain engagement. We want to retain our teams and get that retention going. Fourth is reliable and secure connectivity. So we have to make sure that whatever we're doing, we keep our data secure and that it's easy for our team members to use with the bandwidth that they currently have. Fifth is optimized integration, or putting the pieces of the puzzle together to build a very effective technology strategy. And the last is data-driven change, to make sure that we are making decisions with data and through data. All right, so I want to run one last poll with you guys and just ask the question. So we'll get that poll going. Just ask the question, out of these six areas, what do you think or what do you consider as your strengths already that you are doing today and you're mighty proud of? Okay. So we'll take some time to do that and we'll show the responses. All right. Has everyone answered that question? I think there are no open questions. We'll try to do that again. We'll roll out that poll very quickly. There you go. All right, I'll also answer to give everyone the same amount of time. All right, so let's take a look at the responses. Let's see where everyone is at. All right, nice. Of course, you know, you guys are in HR. I would be surprised if this is not top 1. So I'm so happy to hear this. Culture and collaboration mindset. 73% of organizations that are joining us today feel that these are their strengths. Culture and collaboration mindset. And the next one is enhanced leadership communication. So that's great. Areas for improvement, resilient implementation, reliable and secure connectivity, optimized integration is one of our lowest, tied with resilient implementation, and data-driven change. So that's something we definitely want to work on, knowing that this is the now normal. And I'll now shift to our next speaker, who is the head of our talent culture and communications team, Lawrence Villanueva. So let's all welcome him and we'll hear about workplace. So thank you guys. I'll catch you in the Q&A later.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you as well, Ange, for sharing the extended workplace design. And I've noticed that a lot of you guys have shared that culture and collaboration is one of the key things that you'd like to prioritize over the next few months. So my name is Lawrence Villanueva. I've been working with TalentView for almost 5 years. And I'd say that my whole career has been really spent in HR. The first 5 has been spent with recruiters and organizational development leaders in making sure that they get everyone on board. And before you even promote someone, you want to make sure that they have the right competencies in place to be successful in the role. And then the other half has been spent with TalentView, mainly around understanding what makes people stay, what makes people leave their organization, and what organizations could do so that employees would promote their workplace. And recently, we've partnered as well with Workplace. And this is one of the things that excites us the past few months, knowing that we can empower organizations to transform the way they work and collaborate. So just a very quick background. Facebook has spent over a decade to understand how to connect people globally. And then they've also understand how we communicate on a daily basis and create digital communities for the people that we work with. So for today, we're very much excited to share with you the things that we have learned and how this could be applied to one of the most important communities that we all have, which is work. And then from what we've learned, it shows that culture and collaboration is something that we all need to prioritize. So over the next 10 minutes, we will be sharing with you how Workplace by Facebook has helped real organizations adapt much more effectively while making sure that their team and all of their employees feel so much more connected, knowing that we're all a part. And then we also pay attention to some of the trends that's shaping, I'd say, the workforce of the future. Because we know that at the moment, everything is mobile. A lot of us are attending the webinar from our homes. And then we also talk about millennials and Gen Z slowly entering the market, or millennials taking over the workplace, and with Gen Z slowly taking over the marketplace. And then lastly would be when we talk about the speed of change and uncertainty, both in our personal and professional lives, that's something that we're dealing with the past few months. And then as a leader, we also recognize that these are some of the things that we need to tackle on a daily or on a monthly basis. And we will be sharing with you these transformations and how we could help you guys as you transform the way that you work with your organization. So for the first part, I think I no longer need to explain this anymore, but a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis is really centered around mobile. The first thing that you probably did when you woke up was to check your email for your schedules. Or, if you're some of the people that I know, probably you check Lazada or Shopee if your order is already en route. And then a lot of us would normally use our mobile phones as well to connect with our loved ones, regardless if they are abroad or somewhere in the province. This is something that we have unconsciously embraced over the past few years. So a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis is centered around mobile experience. And then we also talk about millennials and Gen Z. These generations have grown up using Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Viber. And to capture their attention, we're seeing that our mode of communication needs to be so much more expressive through videos, live feeds, images, and GIFs. So a lot of the organizations out there are slowly, I would say, evolving and enhancing the way they work so that their employees would continue to love the platform and applications that they're using within the business. And then knowing that there is so many changes outside and uncertainty in the environment that we work with, we also recognize that there's a shift in communication along with the amount of information that we receive on a daily basis. So given these changes, we're seeing that a lot of the employees nowadays would constantly like to share their ideas. They'd also like to be recognized for their accomplishments and goals that they have set on a daily basis. But more importantly, we're seeing that, and from our research, we're seeing that a lot of employees would like to understand that they have a voice within the organization and know that leaders are listening to the things that matter to their hearts. So these are some of the trends that we're seeing that's shaping the market. And these are also the primary reasons why forward-thinking organizations are slowly changing the way they communicate and collaborate at work. So let me just show you a very quick video. This is one of my favorite stories coming from the CEO of Starbucks, Kevin Johnson.
In January, we implemented Workplace by Facebook. Now think of Workplace by Facebook as a private Facebook for Starbucks partners to communicate and share information. Workplace allows us now to stream live open forums and have real-time dialogue with our store managers. We launched this in January with a live open forum hosted by Howard and myself with all store managers in the US. That's what you see up here on the screen. This was actual live open forum in January. And you can see by this live video, we are getting real-time comments, hearts, thumbs up, sometimes a thumbs down, mostly thumbs ups, and store managers asking us questions. Now this was a new experience for both Howard and myself. But we have now started doing these workplace live open forums with our store managers every month. And store managers have now found a way to create community and better connect with us. Some recent examples. About a month ago, a store manager posted on Workplace. They posted a post that said that they are selling more than 20 beverages a day that are not on our official beverage menu. They are beverages that were featured on Instagram. How many people use Instagram to get your beverage? See all kinds of beverages on Instagram. Well, they're selling 20 a day. They're not sure they have the right recipe. Well, within 24-hour period, nearly 40 other store managers also posted and said, I'm selling 15 of these a day. I'm selling 30 of these a day. And then that evening, our category marketing team saw the volume of posts and how much this beverage featured on Instagram was selling in our stores, and they made a decision that night and posted back to store managers by the next morning that they had made the decision to add this to the official beverage recipes, something that could have taken weeks, if not months, to happen before Workplace, happened in one day. That is creating visibility with our store managers that's enabling us to have more velocity in the way we make decisions so we can better serve our store managers and our partners in the stores.
So, one of the very first questions that we normally get after sharing this would be, hey guys, what kind of drink is Kevin Johnson talking about? So the answer to that is Medicine Ball. It's something that, it's basically a combination of hot tea, lemonade, honey, and it's something that they infused with peppermint. So more importantly, if you'd notice, they have more than 254,000 employees across the globe, and they're able to make decisions on the go, knowing that their leaders have empowered them to do so. So this is the kind of transformation that excites us at TalentView, knowing that we could also apply the same technology for workplaces here in the Philippines. So Workplace by Facebook is a completely separate platform, and it's actually an initiative from Facebook to advance their mission of connecting employees across the globe. The team from their end has taken more than 10 years to, and they've collected so many data from more than 2 billion users to understand how they could apply all of the things that they have learned and put that in the world of work. So it's a totally separate platform. You won't see your personal friends coming from your Facebook account, and then all of the people that you will be connecting with are people from work. So here's a quick overview as well. It doesn't have any ads. So if you search something on Lazada or Shopee, again, you won't be able to see any ads on your Workplace account. All of the data is something that your organization would own. And I would say that the most important part here would be your organizational-wide analytics. You'll be able to see who among your functions are constantly collaborating, and you'll be able to see as well where the gaps are coming from so that your departments could be so much more successful in executing your strategies. And then what's beautiful about it is that it already has everything that people love to use. Chat, search, news feeds, groups. I'd say that almost every day, this is something that workplace users would be using, regardless if you're trying to collaborate internally or externally. And then people would also be able to see your profile and which department you belong, so that they can easily see if you're the right person to work with on a certain project. So, as HR, try to think of the most recent implementation or technological implementation that you've done over the past few years. Did you experience resistance to change, or were you able to change the behaviors of your employees successfully? With Workplace, knowing that it's used by more than 2 billion people across the globe, it gives us a huge advantage in terms of implementing the solution, knowing that there's almost no training required. So you can easily bring people together and deepen engagement. So leaders across the globe are actually using this to create an official group for company-wide updates, especially during this time. That's number one. And then we also talk about capturing the attention of your modern workforce through videos or live feeds. And then lastly would be, a lot of the transformation that we've seen is all about creating two-way conversation across the organization. So you can already imagine your employees talking to their executives or VPs directly, knowing that they're all available through the platform itself. And then we also recently launched portals. It's something that you can use both on Workplace by Facebook and your Facebook account personally. And then this is also one of the things used primarily by workplace users. So as we've mentioned, everything or the experience itself at work is now centered on mobile. So with one click, you can either start a call, an audio call or a video call, and you'll be able to invite up to 50 people to join the conversation. And it's also possible to invite employees outside of your organization, or if you have an external partner. So try to think of like 7-Eleven here in the Philippines. They have different providers externally, like their suppliers, their dealers, their locators. And with a click of a button, they're able to share best practices nationwide and have that applied to the stores, so that the same strategies could be applied across all of their businesses. So think of speed, and it's something that's been used by a lot of the local organizations here in the Philippines. And then once you're already using the platform as a way to communicate across the organization and collaborate, the next thing for you to do is to introduce bots. And bots are really designed to make the lives of your employees so much easier. If you think about it, or from an HR's perspective, if you have a new hire, we can imagine all of the emails that you need to send on a regular basis. Or it could be as simple as introducing the new employees to the organization. So it normally takes a lot of time, but with bots, you're now allowed to focus on more strategic matters, knowing that it can be programmed to do all of these things. And all you need to do is identify the new workflows that you will be doing and review the analytics afterwards. So think of it this way. If you're an HR, if you want to track the morale of your employees, you can now automate that, and reports will be sent to your workplace, and you'll be able to review them on the go. And here's one of our success stories as well. So when we talk about AirAsia, they've implemented bots as well. And when we talk about booking a flight, employees would just simply type in the destination, share their personal information, and then their flights will automatically be booked. So there's no longer a need for them to complete any forms. And it's something that they're now able to do in just a matter of a few seconds, actually. And, one of the inspiring stories here is coming from Tony Fernandez himself. Bureaucracy, I think, is possibly the biggest enemy of an organization. Workplace is a tool to combat that. And coming from their experience, they have more than 22,000 employees coming from 16 nationalities, 200 plus flights across the globe. And one of the key features that they're using would be auto translate. So if you're an employee coming from Japan, it wouldn't really stop you from communicating with people from Malaysia. So you can already imagine all of the barriers removed given that feature from Workplace. And then locally, we also have Aboitiz. So on their end, they normally host and live feed events so that all of their employees in Visayas and Mindanao and Manila would be updated about what's happening within their organization. And then what's more powerful around this is that employees are able to share best practices instantly coming from the different groups of Aboitiz. So there's so So there's so many businesses under Aboitiz, and they're now able to collaborate constantly, even if they're working from different organizations. And then for Globe, one of the key reasons why they've implemented Workplace is to connect with their talents much more. And what we're seeing is that aside from these groups that we're sharing here, naturally, employees would also create social groups like hobbies, interests, and even buy and sell groups, for example. And it's one way to engage employees even more. So for Globe on their end, coming from their recent, I would say, transition to Workplace, they've practically eliminated 90% to 95% of their emails. So everything is now hosted in one place. So when we think about the journey of transformation, what we're seeing outside is that regardless if you have 50 employees or 100,000 employees, Workplace is designed to connect your organization so that they could collaborate and communicate so much faster. And here's the typical journey that you can also apply for your business. So first would be to use it as a communications platform. It's really designed to make sure that everyone is informed across the business, especially during this time. So there are also safety checks. So you'll be able to see if employees are safe wherever they are working. And you can also introduce bots to see how healthy they are. And it's something that you can monitor through the platform. And then we also talk about collaboration. So once that all of the employees are informed, now they're also empowered to create groups and create agile projects so that they can easily collaborate with all of the functions across their organization. And then lastly is automation. So again, think of the game-changing bots that I've shared around HR. Think of how this has been completed for AirAsia in terms of booking flights. And it can also be done for some of the, I would say, the admin and clerical processes within your business. It could be as simple as, scheduling a facilities repair, booking a room, or as simple as checking on all of your employees across the different sites that you work with. So bots is designed really to automate everything and make the lives of your employees so much easier so that they can focus more on collaborating and getting work done. And then I'd say that if you would like to see the same transformation for your business, it normally takes 6 steps. And this is what we would recommend. So first would be defining your business drivers. For this to be successful, you need to focus on like top 2 or 3 things that you'd like to change across the business. In AirAsia's case, it's really about fighting bureaucracy. They want to make sure that employees have a voice and know that leaders are listening closely to the sentiments of everyone across the organization. So on your end, try to think, what are the things that you would like to change? Or if you're gonna dig a bit deeper to some of your responses earlier that you'd like to enhance culture and collaboration, what are the other reasons or what are the primary challenges that you are experiencing inside that you want to change? And then next would be executive consensus. From our experience, this kind of transformation is only successful if your executives are involved. A lot of from the most recent implementations that we've had, people are so excited to know that their leaders are liking their posts. Leaders are commenting and putting a heart on the things that they have accomplished on a daily basis. So people are seeing that change coming from their leaders, and from a top-down approach, organically, people would also be communicating with their leaders directly. So we're removing all of those barriers to communication, allowing people to collaborate and make decisions on the go, similar to the Starbucks story that I've shared earlier. And then we also talk about IT alignment. So one of the drivers earlier that we've shared is really about making sure that it's secured. So IT alignment is very much important. So guys, it's raining from my end. So sorry if the audio isn't as clear. And then you also want to make sure that you have your execution team. From my experience, these are your HR, comms team, IT team, and then your executives. These are the 4 key roles that you want to make sure are involved when we talk about implementing this kind of transformation for your business. And then if you want to operate fast, a lot of the people that we work with would normally say that we need a new platform in 2 to 4 weeks. So fast track with a partner. That's why TalentView is here. We're really here to guide you through the journey and share with you what we've experienced in terms of implementing the same transformation to organizations here in the Philippines. And then lastly is identify a launch date. If we want to see this transformation over the next few weeks, then what are the next steps that we need to do? So typically I'd say that this platform could be implemented in 2 to 6 weeks at the most. And regardless of your company size, at 500 to 10,000 employees, then that's already a safe, I would say, number of weeks for implementation. So if you want to try Workplace by Facebook, it's free. We'll send over the link to you, to all of the participants today, and you can register and see how this could be applied within your HR function. So Workplace by Facebook has been used in recruitment, onboarding, learning and development, up to engagement and pulse of the organization. So if you want to see how this could be applied, then register using the link that we will be sharing, and we will be glad to reach out to you and share what we've done. So we head on to the Q&A. We will invite Ange back to the session.
Hi everyone. So I'm back. Thanks so much, Lawrence. That was so awesome. That's Workplace for everyone here today. And just wanted to check if you guys have any questions, if you had any comments that you wanted to share for now. I received a question and something that typically is asked from us by our clients. How different is it from Facebook? And I know Lawrence has explained this, but maybe while we're waiting for everybody to come into more questions, I just wanted to answer this for everyone. There are differences and similarities. Differences are that, it's a cleaner version. It's not muddled up with the conversations you have with your family, your friends. It's simply for your own company. But I would say that in terms of similarities, all the functionalities that you know and love are there. So if you're checking news feeds, if you want to share how you feel, heart, like, hug, whatever it is, right? All these reactions can still come into play. So the reason why the adoption rates are so high, you saw the Starbucks example earlier. There's practically 80 to 90% adoption on week one for most of the companies that we work with. It's because it's so easy to use. Everybody knows how to use it. And I guess the learning curve is not so steep. Whereas you would use other platforms that they're going to be introduced to for the first time, it will be very different. Yeah, and I see a question here, subscription rates for Workplace. Lawrence, do you want to take that?
Sure. So when we talk about the subscription for Workplace, there are three types of models in place. So first is your essential. It means that you can use Workplace for free. It's limited to 50 groups and limited to 5 gig per employee. So it's basically free. If you want to try it out, then that's possible for you to do so. Just click on the link that we will be sharing with you later in our session today, and we will help you with your transformation. And then the next version is $4 per employee, which means that you will be able to maximize all of the features within Workplace. There's almost no limit for the amount of, I would say, space that an employee could consume, which is 1 terabyte. And there's no limit as well to the number of groups that you can create within the business. So from our experience, if you're an organization with 500 to 10,000 employees, normally you would be creating a lot of groups across the business so that employees could easily collaborate. And then the next tier would be $8, which includes premium support. We will also be sharing the link when we talk about the subscription itself so that you can see the differences and similarities across the different models in place.
Yeah, so that's pricing. And I'm seeing another question come in on Facebook. What happens when the employee leaves? So this is where it gets a bit exciting, and I'll take this one. So unlike Facebook, which is your personal network, and obviously you have all these groups you've created with some employees, with some team members, and you don't know who's who when you're doing a chat. On Workplace, it is connected to your HRIS or to your employee data. So it's up to you what data you want to connect to it. But immediately, if your employee resigns, they are taken out of your workplace environment or workplace instance. So that's automatic. You don't have to do anything manually, meaning you don't have to take them out from each and every group. You take them out in your employee data, immediately they're out of the group. You can still see their posts. Their posts will not be deleted, but they no longer have access to your workplace. So I guess it's like typical office also, where you have an office. If an employee resigns, they no longer enter your premises. So it's the same thing with workplace. You take them out from your employee data list and immediately they are out of your workplace. All right. There's another question. Is there a risk that someone might share something from their personal Facebook account to workplace? Or can someone accidentally share confidential work information from workplace on their personal Facebook profile? Lawrence, you want to take this?
Sure. So from our experience, that rarely happens, knowing that Facebook and workplace are totally separate. It means that they would only be using their work emails to access workplace, and it's totally different from their personal Facebook account. And the second item that I'd like to, I would say, highlight here is that you can also encrypt critical information so that employees wouldn't be able to download information that you want them to share outside. So those are the two key things. First is that it's a totally separate account from Facebook. Employees are going to use a specific code or access coming from your admin or HR. Then number two, you can also encrypt video content or specific contents within workplace so that they could not download those and share for their personal connections.
And just to add to what Lawrence mentioned, I think this is what's happening right now when we're using what we call consumer applications. Most of the time, because we're on Messenger and we're talking to our teams on Viber or some other communication platforms that are consumer-based or very informal, this is something that happens. People share that information with other colleagues, take a screenshot, send it to family or friends. And so, as Lawrence mentioned, there are security measures in place to minimize that a lot on the workplace platform. Right? Lawrence, the next question.
So the next
Why should
question
we
that
opt
we're
for
seeing,
advanced or enterprise when some of the features are available in essential?
okay, so let me take this one. So when we talk about essential, it's really designed for small organizations. And when we talk about the number of groups, again, you would be limited to 50 groups. And there's also a limit to the amount of space that people will be able to download within Workplace. So those are the two key factors that we're seeing. With Essential, there's no limit to the number of groups, and each employees would have 1 terabyte of space to be consumed over Workplace. And then on top of that, when we compare Essential or the free version over Advanced and the Enterprise, there's also admin analytics that you'd be able to access. So remember what I shared earlier about being able to see the kind of content that's engaging your employees, or being able to see how your employees are collaborating constantly across different functions. Those are the kind of things that are only available in the advanced version or the enterprise version. So for enterprise, the main difference between enterprise and the advanced version would be the kind of support or premium support available. Plus, there's also an enterprise live version that will allow you to stream content without consuming so many bandwidth for all of your employees. So we will be sharing the differences between the three so that you can better decide and better assess the need of your organization. So the typical journey would be for some of our partners, they normally start with the essential or the free version, and then they'll slowly move over to advanced once they're able to secure a high adoption rate of the platform, and once they're able to create different workflows for the business.
And then I'll take this next question. What client support do you or workplace provide? So that's precisely why TalentView is here. So we're here to share with you best practices, how are other organizations working or using their workplace rather. And we're also here to help you build out content. Remember, I talked about strategy, design, and technology. So in the event that HR needs to wear multiple hats, you're wearing the hat of a recruiter, a communicator, a counselor. So we're helping you build out your communication strategy in conjunction with workplace so that you're sure that the content you're pushing out helps your employees, gets them informed, and allows you to show care. So you have multiple layers of support, first from the Talent View team, and of course also from the workplace team globally. So because of the depth of the organization, you can simply reach out and be able to get the support that you need for whatever initiative that you want to do on workplace. So I believe now we're running the poll. We want to say thank you for joining us. But before that, please let us know what you think of this session, whatever you learned or anything that you sort of picked up that you want to share. We're also going to be sending a thank you email. Please let us know what you think, and we hope to see you in succeeding webinars. So we'll let everybody just pick up the survey first, and then from there we'll give you an update. I think what's being flashed here also is that as you're picking up the survey, I've written a book called Rethink Recruitment for anyone in HR that's also in talent acquisition. You can get a chance to win a free copy of this book by filling out the feedback forms and letting us know what you think, and we'll send that over to you. All right. I think pretty much everyone has picked up the survey, feedback survey. Are you good, Lawrence?
Yeah. Thank you again so much, guys, for joining us today. And feel free to reach out if you have other questions.
Thank you so much, everyone. We hope to see you in our other upcoming webinar Wednesdays. And stay safe. Thank you again for joining us, and talk to you again soon. Thank you.